Alrighty, welcome those who are just joining us to the Virtual College Exploration STEM Days program in partnership with Cachet. This is the Trinity College information session. Thank you for being here. I'm going to kick us off before I pass it over to Emily. First and foremost, there's more sessions through tomorrow evening, so we'd love for you to continue to check out the sessions and continue to connect with colleges and universities through tomorrow night. When you do register for these sessions, you do get a barcode in that confirmation email, but know that that barcode is not necessary for any of the virtual events you partake in. All of these sessions are being recorded and posted to our website shortly after the session concludes. So whether you want to rewatch a session you participated in or watch one you may have missed, just check back on our website for those recordings. And then you'll notice that you will see and hear Emily. Unfortunately, she cannot see or hear you all. This is webinar style format. Any questions you have throughout the presentation, feel free to type those into the Q&A box, and Emily will do her best towards the end of the presentation to address those questions. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Emily to get us started. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, so I am going to share my screen with all of you. There we are. Okay. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining this session about Trinity College. My name is Emily Petersell. I'm an Associate Director of Admissions at Trinity, and I am happy to give you this overview. What we're going to do is give an overview of Trinity College that will include some specific details about STEM at Trinity, because I know that the audience for this is mostly students and maybe families and counselors who are interested in getting information about STEM opportunities at Trinity. And then at the end, I'm happy to take as many of your questions as I can get to in the allotted time. So without further ado, here we go. So Trinity, just to give a quick overview, is a small liberal arts college. We are located in the capital city of Hartford, Connecticut. Hartford is a good-sized city. It's certainly not as big as like a, as a New York or Los Angeles, but we have about 150,000 residents in the city of Hartford, and that number grows during the day. We're definitely a big commuter city, lots of companies and businesses that are located in Hartford as well. Trinity College was founded in 1823. We were founded in the Episcopalian tradition, so we do have some roots in religious and academic freedom. That also means that we do not have a specific religious affiliation. So despite our name, Trinity College, common misconception is that we are a Catholic college, but we are not a Catholic college. We don't have any religion requirement, though certainly we celebrate all religions and cultures at Trinity. You're welcome to celebrate yours, but we don't have a specific affiliation. We are the second oldest college in the state of Connecticut, second only to Yale University. So Yale is the oldest college in Connecticut, and we are the second oldest. Our student body is a small one. About 2,100 full-time undergraduate students attend Trinity. We are, for all intents and purposes, primarily an undergraduate college, though we do offer a handful of master's degrees and certificate programs above and beyond our bachelor's programs, but we only have about 60 graduate students in those cohorts at any given time. So we are primarily an undergraduate-focused institution. So for today, this is sort of the agenda that I've laid out for us, a couple of topics that I want to move through. So I'm going to spend quite a bit of time talking about the academic experience for a Trinity student. We'll talk a little bit about our campus community. I want to share with you some opportunities for real-world learning in Hartford. I think being in an urban environment gives students at Trinity a lot of opportunities to actually take what they're learning in that liberal arts environment and apply it in context in the real world. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk a little bit about career development, our career development strategy at Trinity, and some outcomes for our graduates. And then finally, I'll wrap up by just giving some quick overview of some of our admissions and financial aid policies, and then I'll open it up to questions at the end. So first up is our academic experience. So what you're seeing on the left-hand side of this slide is pretty much the outline of a Trinity College experience for all 4 years from start to finish. So starting with the first year, every student at Trinity starts by taking either a first-year seminar course or participating in a gateway program. The first year seminars are small discussion-based classes. They're capped at 15 students. They're led by full-time faculty members. All of our classes are taught by full-time faculty members at Trinity. And every first year seminar has a different topic. We teach seminars in all of our different departments and disciplines, so you get to choose which topic you're most interested in for your seminar. But all of the seminars are structurally similar in that they are discussion-based and very research and writing focused. So those classes are designed to give you an introduction to what it's like to be a Trinity student, sort of the expectations of coming to class prepared to engage in ideas with your peers and with your professor. Our gateway programs are the alternative option to the first year seminar, and gateway programs are designed for students who are coming in with a strong sense of what they want to study at Trinity, or maybe at least knowing a topic that they're really excited about or interested in. So our gateway programs tend to be more focused. The gateway programs are similar to the first year seminar in that they are still small. There's a lot of discussion, a lot of research happening in those gateway programs, but they also can extend beyond the first semester. So the first year seminar courses are just for the fall. Gateway programs sometimes can go for fall into spring, or actually into the second year of your Trinity experience. One gateway program that I think our STEM students are primarily the most interested in is our interdisciplinary science program. That is a gateway option for students who are really high achievers in the math and sciences and are interested in pursuing math and science in a liberal arts context, and we'll talk a little bit about that program in more detail in just a minute. Beyond the first year, or continuing into your Trinity experience, part of a Trinity College education, and this is the liberal arts element of wanting you to be well-rounded, is that you are required to take at least one course in each of our 5 distribution requirement areas in order to graduate. So those 5 areas are arts, humanities, natural sciences, numeric and symbolic reasoning, and social sciences. The good thing about the distribution requirements is that they are extremely flexible. So there are lots of different types of courses that you can take in order to fulfill these requirements. And we really encourage students to seek out courses that are of great interest to them, or complementary to the things that they are studying in their major, or maybe their multiple majors or minors. Just an example, so for our requirement in numeric and symbolic reasoning, a lot of students, when they see that, they interpret that to mean math. And certainly math does count as numeric and symbolic reasoning. If you like math, or if you have to take math for your major anyway, you can take a math course, and that would fulfill that distribution requirement. But there are also classes outside of the math department that would count for that requirement. So an example is our philosophy department offers courses in logic. And those logic courses count as your numeric and symbolic reasoning course. I also know a student who took a class on art restoration, and that counted as her natural science requirement because there was a lot of chemistry that she had to learn involved in that course, but she was really very interested in art. So lots of different ways to fulfill those requirements. We also require all of our students to have at least one course that has a global focus. They can also fulfill that global requirement by participating in a study away program, which is actually very popular at Trinity. So typically about 60% of our students do at least one study away program before they graduate. Primarily that is happening in their junior year. So you certainly are not required to study away, but if that is something that is of interest to you, that's certainly know that Trinity is a good place to do study away. And then finally, at the end of the 4 years, every student at Trinity is required to complete a senior capstone project, to write a thesis, or to complete a senior seminar course. So that senior seminar course is very similar to that first year seminar in that it's small and discussion based, but it tends to be a topic that's now very advanced in your field or your major. So diving into some of these things a little bit more specifically, I mentioned I wanted to talk a little bit about our gateway for interdisciplinary science. We call it ISP for short. So the ISP program is actually 3 semesters. So you start in your fall semester of your freshman year. And again, this is a program that is really designed to broaden and enrich the study of science and math for our students by exploring the links between scientific disciplines and their connections with the external world. So the core setup of the ISP program is that in the first semester, in the fall semester of your first year, students are taking a course that is sort of an interdisciplinary broad-based science course. In their second semester, in the spring, they are actually doing a research internship. Or apprenticeship, excuse me. So at the end of the fall semester, our science students in the ISP program actually go around and visit all of the different research labs at Trinity. They meet with different faculty members. They decide which research projects going on at Trinity they're most excited to work on. And then they actually get to do that research apprenticeship as their course for the spring semester. So they're working with faculty members, or they could also be working in collaboration with junior and senior students at Trinity who are working on research in those areas. Part of the ISP program is that we also provide a stipend to all of the students in this program to do summer research in between their first and second year at Trinity. That is an optional part of the ISP program, but it's certainly something that is, I think, appealing to a lot of the students in this program. And then finally, in the first semester of your sophomore year, you wrap up your ISP Gateway by taking a course that investigates the interactions of science and society. So there are actually multiple different classes that you can choose from, but it has to be sort of fall into that category of understanding science and society together. Moving past the first year, I do want to talk about sophomore year and selecting a major. So because Trinity is a liberal arts college, we do not admit students directly to programs. So when you apply to Trinity College, even if you know right now that you're super interested in engineering or biology, you wouldn't be applying directly to that major. You would just be submitting an application to be a member of our college and community broadly. And we wouldn't expect you to declare your major until halfway through your sophomore year. But the majors that you see up here on this slide represent the majors that we have in STEM. So in total at Trinity, we have 41 different majors and 28 interdisciplinary minors. You'll see from this slide, about a quarter of our majors are in STEM fields. Our students tend to distribute themselves pretty well over all of our majors. So about a quarter of the degrees that we award each year at Trinity are in STEM fields. I do want to point out that unlike many liberal arts colleges, particularly small liberal arts colleges, we do have an ABET accredited engineering degree. So we are one of only a handful of colleges out there that can give you that really small, tight-knit liberal arts college experience while also giving you the opportunity to do that accredited engineering program. Our engineers have the option to focus in mechanical, electrical, or computer engineering while they're with us. I also want to point out on this slide that double asterisk next to the neuroscience program. I did mention that we offer a handful of graduate degrees at Trinity, so we actually do offer a dual degree BSMA program for neuroscience. So if you're really interested in neuroscience, you can actually come to Trinity for 5 years and get both your bachelor's degree and your master's degree in neuroscience all at once. Our president, Joanne Berger-Sweeney, is a neurotoxicologist, so she is a professor of neuroscience. She actually still lectures in neuroscience from time to time. So neuroscience is actually one of our fastest growing majors at Trinity, and it's very well supported, particularly because of our president's affiliation with the subject. In addition to what you're seeing on this slide, I also want to mention that we do offer not majors, minors only in applied mathematics, cognitive science, and marine studies. So if you are interested in any of those, certainly doable as well. And then I mentioned also that every student at Trinity has to do a senior capstone thesis or seminar. These are some examples from one of our recent graduates, Donovan Palmer. Donovan was a double major in engineering and physics. So this is some graphics from his engineering capstone project. So if you choose to do engineering at Trinity, you actually don't have a choice of capstone project, thesis, seminar, you have to do the capstone project. So all of our engineers are doing some sort of hands-on research project for their capstone. Donovan, one of his extracurricular activities was that he was a barista at one of our on-campus coffee shops. He built this robot to pick up coffee at the coffee shop for him and bring it to his dorm room. So that was his senior capstone project. And then he also gave me a graphic of, because he was a double major, he also had to take a physics seminar, senior seminar for his physics degree. And so he actually had 2 senior projects as well. So that wraps up sort of the academic experience. I'm happy to take questions at the end of the presentation about anything I've said, but I want to move on to campus community. So I mentioned already that Trinity is a small college and we're rather a tight-knit community. We are also primarily, typically, a residential community. So in a typical year, more than 90% of Trinity students do live on campus in our residence halls. So we very much consider ourselves to be a living, learning community. In the first year at Trinity, every first year student lives in what we call a nest. So there are 10 nests. They make up the Bantam network. For those of you who may not know, the Bantam is our mascot. If you don't know what a Bantam is, that's okay. It's kind of a fancy chicken. It's like a big rooster that looks very pretty and is also kind of tough and edgy. So because we are the Bantams, we have a lot of chicken and poultry references on campus. So the nests are one of those. So there are 10 nests in our Bantam residential network. Basically, the Bantam network was designed for students by students to be this sort of interconnected residential experience that you have in your first year. So in the first year, you'll be sorted into a nest, kind of like being sorted into a Harry Potter or a Hogwarts house. And then you live with the students in your nest while you are on campus in the first year. So your residence hall will have all the other students in your nest in it. And then there will actually also be some overlap between the students who are in your nest and the students who are in your first year seminar course or in your gateway program. So it's very much a living learning model so that you can get to know students, your fellow students, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. Our campus is small, but there is lots of activity and plenty to do. So we have over 140 different student clubs and organizations on our campus. I won't name them all, but just to name a few, we have a jiu-jitsu club, lots of dance organizations, we have 4 different a cappella groups, we have student government association, mock trial, lots of different options. So pretty much anything that you would want to get involved in, we probably have a club or organization that could fit that interest. In addition to that, we are Division III for athletics. Between our men's and women's teams, we have 30 different varsity teams on our campus. So that's something that a lot of students are involved in as well, whether it's they're actually playing a sport or they're going out to games and supporting their friends. One thing that's sort of a fun fact that I want to point out on this slide, in that top right-hand corner, you see a picture of our Cine Studio. Cine Studio is actually our very own on-campus movie theater. It's an independent movie house. It was founded by students who actually refurnished an old chemistry building a whole bunch of years ago, and they turned it into a sort of old style movie theater. There's one screen, you've got your velvet seats and your big red curtains, it's very fancy inside, and this is actually an independent movie house that is open to the public. So it's open to Trinity students and community members, but people from around the city of Hartford will actually go to see movies at our Cine Studio as well, and the Cine Studio is run by students primarily at Trinity. If you're interested in film, fun fact also is that we have a film studies major as well as a minor. So if you're interested in movies, Trinity is a good place to be. I wanted to share with you just a quick list. This is certainly not an all-inclusive or comprehensive list of our STEM societies, clubs, and organizations on our campus, but just a sampling. You'll notice that we have a lot of affiliations with professional organizations for engineers and others who are interested in different types of science medicine, and STEM careers. These are really great opportunities for you to start networking outside of Trinity as well. So for many of these chapters and these organizations, we have affiliations with other chapters around the state, and students can get connected to people in industry through many of these organizations. So thinking about getting outside into the real world, I mentioned earlier that our urban location in the city of Hartford really gives students a lot of opportunities to take what they're learning in the classroom and apply it right away to a real world context. So many of our Trinity students are actually getting real experience in their fields of interest while they are at Trinity. So I'll talk about some of the ways we do that. One of the primary ways we do that is, of course, internship opportunities. So at Trinity, we have over 200 Trinity-specific internships in and around the city of Hartford. So what that means is that there are actually companies and organizations all around Hartford that are holding spots in their organization for Trinity students specifically to come and intern. So lots of access to those opportunities. We do offer Trinity students the option, in some cases, depending on the internship, to do an internship for credit during the semester. So if you're in a for-credit internship, you tend to be taking fewer classes at Trinity during that specific semester in order to make time for your internship obligations, and the internship will actually count towards your degree. A good example of that I think is also of great interest to our STEM students is our Health Fellows program. So at Trinity, we do have a very strong representation of students who are interested in going to medical school or going into careers and professions in the healthcare field. Our Health Fellows program is when Trinity students get matched up one-on-one with clinicians and researchers who work in Hartford hospitals or medical centers around the city. They actually go and intern with them during the week. They shadow that student, or that person, excuse me, who becomes their mentor, and they actually work on a research project related to that internship. That Health Fellows program is so robust and so time intensive that it actually takes the place of 3 of your classes at Trinity. So most of our Health Fellows are only taking 1 additional class during that semester that they're doing the Health Fellows program, but the program does count towards their degree. We also have a partnership with a company called Infosys. Infosys is an information technology company that's actually headquartered in India, but they built a sort of a hub in the city of Hartford, particularly because they wanted to partner with Trinity College. Infosys is a company that believes very strongly that liberal arts education is the future. They believe that it's important to have well-rounded employees who are good critical thinkers and who can see connections between different disciplines. So we have a partnership with them where we actually bring their employees in, or we go to them to teach them some things about liberal arts, and they in turn give our students opportunities to intern with them and work with them on different projects, both in Hartford and actually over the summer in India as well. There's also lots of opportunities to get involved in Hartford in different ways. So we have a sort of umbrella organization at Trinity called SHARE, which is the Center for Hartford Engagement and Research. SHARE does a wide variety of things, but one of my favorite things that they do is they run our Liberal Arts Action Lab. The Liberal Arts Action Lab is a physical space in downtown Hartford, so it's a little bit away from our campus in a place called Constitution Plaza. And it's a collaborative workspace where Trinity students come together with students from Capital Community College to actually work on real projects that have been proposed by people or organizations around the city of Hartford. These are not projects that these companies or organizations made up so that students could learn something. These are actually real problems that they are learning to solve and that could have a great impact on the city of Hartford. So our students get the opportunity to work on those projects, really put their liberal arts education into action, hence the name Liberal Arts Action Lab. The other thing that our Center for Hartford Engagement and Research does is they manage all of our community-based learning courses. So we offer a lot of courses at Trinity, academic courses, where part of the syllabus, part of the requirements for the course will be that you actually have to get off campus and apply what you're learning in a real setting. So whether it's solving a problem in a real setting, engaging with a specific population or an organization that you may have been learning about in class. So about a quarter of Trinity students complete at least one community-based learning course before they graduate. About a third of them do, about a quarter do 2 or more of those courses. excuse me. So lots of opportunity for our students to get out into the city of Hartford and really engage deeply in what they're learning about. And that goes for STEM students as well as students in all types of fields. And then we also have lots of opportunities for our students to get involved in faculty supervised research. Most of the students that I know or engage with on a regular basis have done some type of research project with a faculty member, whether it was short-term or long-term, over a summer, during a semester. Our faculty are very accessible. They want to be mentors to our students, and because Trinity is so small and undergrad focused, you're not fighting for spots in research labs or on projects with graduate students, because we don't really have that many graduate students. We actually don't have any graduate students in STEM fields other than neuroscience, and so that's important to know. Last thing I want to talk about before we talk about admissions and financial aid is a little bit about our career development philosophy and some outcomes for our graduates. So this is actually a picture of Joe Cucatrino. So he's our director of career development. He is a design thinking coach in addition to being a career advisor, but he doesn't like the word advisor. So at Trinity, we always say that when it comes to careers, we coach students, we do not advise, right? So, because advise kind of implies that there's one pathway for everything, and we can give you some straightforward advice on how to get from point A to B to C and so on. But the truth is that there is no one right way to do any career or to have any kind of life. And particularly when you're a student at a liberal arts college, our goal is to get you to think about all of the different ways in which you can use your expansive education to make an impact on the world. So we do guide students and we help coach them. We use a design thinking model to get them thinking about their careers and how to adapt and transform the world around them. But we don't specifically strictly advise. This model seems to be working well for us because we have some really strong positive outcomes coming out of Trinity. So these are some statistics from our class of 2019. We don't have statistics yet for our class of 2020 because these measurements are usually taken 6 months after graduation. So for our class of 2019, 96.6% of them within 6 months were either employed full-time, pursuing graduate study, or they were serving in some other full-time role. Recently, Trinity was ranked 10th among U.S. liberal arts colleges in terms of long-term return on investment. So that's according to a report by the Georgetown University Center on Education and the Workforce. And then if you look at the right-hand side of this slide, you'll see some common industries that our students are going into right out the gate at Trinity. So business and finance is certainly a big category for us, but you'll notice that health and medicine and science and technology engineering are our second and third largest categories, and combined they make up almost 30%, actually a little over 30% of the students who are graduating from Trinity are going into those STEM fields. So definitely a strong representation for our STEM graduates. So last piece, sort of my favorite part, because I'm an admissions counselor, the admissions and financial aid process. So I don't want to spend a ton of time digging through all of the application requirements and the nitty-gritty details of the process, because I know that you're probably, if you're thinking about applying to college in this year, you're probably going to be spending a lot of time on our website and other colleges' websites and sort of reading about the process there. But I do want to give you some quick highlights of the Trinity admissions and financial aid process. So these are some key things to know about our process. So first, in admissions, we do ask that you apply through the common application. That's the one and only way to apply to Trinity right now. And so the common application, universal platform, we are a member, and so you can apply through that. We do have a test optional admissions process. We have been test optional at Trinity since 2015. And so we're truly a test optional process, which means that we do not require students to submit SAT or ACT scores as part of their application to Trinity. If you have those scores and you're proud of them and you would like to submit them, that's great. But if you didn't get the opportunity to take those standardized tests, or if you took them but didn't do as well as you would have hoped, there's no reason to send those test scores to us. We are happy to evaluate you without them. And we make absolutely no assumptions or judgments one way or the other about why some students choose to submit testing and others do not. If you are the first generation in your family to go to college, we do waive our application fee. So if you are first generation to college, applying to Trinity is totally free for you. And then if anyone else out there needs a fee waiver, you can always ask and we're happy to give you one. And then in terms of our deadlines, we do have 2 early decision deadlines and a regular decision deadline. Early decision is a binding agreement. So if you know that Trinity is your top choice college and you're absolutely committed to coming if you get admitted, I would encourage you to go for one of our early decision deadlines. But if you're not as sure about Trinity or you just don't want to make that commitment up front, you can apply regular decision, and that is a non-binding agreement. In terms of our financial aid, we are committed to meeting full calculated need for all of our students through our need-based aid program. And we do also have merit scholarships available as part of financial aid. The good news about that is that there's no separate application or actions that you need to take in order to be considered for our merit scholarships. So we hand select our merit scholarship winners directly from our applicant pool. So just by virtue of being an applicant to Trinity, you'll automatically be considered for any of the merit scholarships that you might meet the criteria for. So I'm going to stop there and I'm going to go to your questions now. I see that a couple people have already submitted some questions, so I'm going to try to answer them, but please feel free to submit more if you would like to. So first question, since Trinity has roots in Christianity, are there activities, programs, etc. for LGBTQ+ students? Yes, absolutely. So let me clarify our roots. So when I say that we were founded in the Episcopalian tradition, what that means is we were founded by an Episcopalian bishop, but actually Trinity was, I believe, the very first college that decided upon its founding that when students enrolled at the college that they would not be required to sign on to the religion. So from the beginning, since 1823, any student of any religion was allowed to come to Trinity College. We're not, at this point today, we always say we were founded in an Episcopalian tradition, but we don't actually have a religious affiliation anymore. So we are not a Christian college. We wouldn't categorize ourselves as such. And that being said, that doesn't mean we don't have people of a wide variety of different religions on our campus, but there is definitely a lot to do for our LGBTQ community. So we actually have a queer resource center on our campus, and we have a director of the Queer Resource Center, Carrie Robinson. So she works specifically with our LGBTQ+ students on fun programming, but also is there just as a resource for them. There's the Queer Resource Center is actually a physical space that you can go and be, and I think it's become sort of a haven and a hangout for a lot of our LGBTQ students on campus. We also, in addition to that, have our Women's and Gender Resource and Action Center. And that's run by a different group, but they're both under the umbrella of our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Division. And so certainly there are lots of resources on campus for our LGBTQ community. Another question. Are there any preparatory courses for pre-med? I'm looking to be a biology major and would love to take medical courses as well. Great, I'm glad to see a pre-med major here. So we have, so pre-med is not a major, I should rephrase. Pre-med is not a major at Trinity, but it is sort of a pathway. So at Trinity, we have a group called our Healthcare Professions Advising Cohort. It is a group of faculty and staff who are specifically dedicated to guiding our students who are interested in going to medical school or going into healthcare professions and making sure that they take all of the classes that they need to take at Trinity in order to be eligible to apply to medical schools. If you are part of that HPAC group, you actually get an advisor who's in the HPAC group in addition to your regular faculty advisor. Most of the students who are in that group do choose to major in some sort of natural science. So biology is certainly appropriate, chemistry, neuroscience, something along those lines. And then the students who are in that HPAC group actually have more than an 80% success rate of getting into medical schools. For the students in the HPAC group that are deemed the most highly qualified by our faculty, the acceptance rate into medical school is above 90%. So we have a very strong presence of students at Trinity who are really interested in healthcare professions. We have that healthcare professions advising cohort. So while you're not necessarily a medicine major or a pre-med major, you would major in science, be part of the HPAC group, make sure you take those courses and get the guidance to go in the direction that you want to go. Trinity shows up in the coalition application. I've been working through that. Should I stop working with it and move to the Common App? So we are not a member of the coalition application. I'm not sure why we would be coming up there. So if you are planning to apply to Trinity, you should start a Common application. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't finish your coalition application. You can certainly apply to some colleges through the coalition app and others through the Common App. That's really up to you, but we are a Common App exclusive school at this time. How diverse is Trinity? So I would say that for a small college, we are very diverse. So in terms of our geographic diversity, we have 47 or 48 states now represented on our campus, and we have almost 70 countries represented on campus. So we're about 15% international for our student body. In terms of self-identified students of color, we are over 21% now. So I know my original slide, I think, said 21% students of color. I think we're a little bit above that now, but that is self-identified students of color, not inclusive of our international population. So that's domestic students only. And then we are about 50-50 men and women. We typically in every year are about 50-50 male identified and female identified students. So lots of people from different backgrounds, from different countries, from different parts of the United States who come to Trinity. And we are also part of an urban environment that's very diverse. So there are a lot of immigrant populations in the city of Hartford, lots of people who come from all over. And so we're a pretty diverse campus that's also in a pretty diverse location. If a student took the SAT once and has a good but not outstanding score, and was signed up to retake with the expectation that they would improve, but the retake test was canceled, should they still submit the first score? I'm gonna say it depends, right? So this is sort of my blanket statement about test scores. So with Trinity being test optional, what I would encourage you to do is to go on our website and look at the posted averages or middle 50% ranges for the SAT and the ACT for the students who are typically admitted to Trinity. I want you to also remember that because we've been test optional for 5 years, those averages are inflated, because what tends to happen is the students who submit their test scores to Trinity tend to be the students who score very, very high, and the students who opt not to send their scores could be high, low, anywhere in the middle, but most of the people who submit have very strong testing. If your test scores fall close to that average or within that range, I would say go ahead, yes, send them. If they fall below that range, I would say probably best to not submit. And again, we make no assumptions or judgments one way or the other about students who choose not to submit test scores. It is really up to you. It's also, I think, important to know that at this point, for our last 2 classes that we admitted, more than half of the students in our enrolling class did not submit testing. So we actually have more students in our first year and sophomore classes now on our campus for whom we never saw their test scores than students for whom we did. We feel that we can make a really strong assessment of a student's ability to be successful at Trinity based on their transcript. Performance in high school for us is a much stronger indicator of your ability to be successful at Trinity than the testing. So if you don't have a test score you're proud of, or if you didn't get to take the test or didn't get to retake because of COVID-19, you don't have to send it, and I truly mean it. What is the difference between senior capstone projects, seminars, etc., in terms of what types of skills are accentuated and evaluated? Great question. So senior capstone projects tend to be like a physical project, something that you are creating. So in the example I gave earlier of Donovan Palmer's robot, right? He built that robot, he designed it himself, he had to research how to build it, and so on. Other examples of capstone projects are our film studies majors. They often will make short films as their capstone, and they will be presented at the Trinity Film Festival, which happens at Cinef Studio on an annual basis. Usually any of our arts majors are doing some sort of capstone project, so they're writing a short play, they're putting on a performance, they're creating some sort of artwork. So the capstone projects tend to be more like a physical thing that you're creating or developing. A thesis is a written piece, so it's usually you do extensive research and then write a sort of extended essay or extended piece that is contributing to the body of knowledge in your field, or sort of responding to other research in your field. The seminar classes tend to be more like an actual class, but there's usually a big research component where as part of your seminar, so you're sort of taking a standard class, it's a discussion-based class, and then at the end of the seminar, you'll have to do some sort of big research project, but it's not as big or as time-intensive as a capstone or a thesis. Capstone and thesis usually takes place over the course of a whole year versus a culminating senior seminar project tends to be scoped a little smaller just because of timing. Do the nests at Trinity include traditional or suite style dorms? So most of our first year students do live in standard double rooms. For this year, because of COVID-19 restrictions, we are housing all of our students in single rooms. So that's sort of unique to this year and this situation and the current circumstance. But typically in a normal year, first year students live in a double room, so you and one roommate. You can request a single though, so we do try to honor those requests as much as possible. So if you request a single room, you will probably get one, even as a first year student. We also have some rooms that are sort of 2-room doubles. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's actually 2 single rooms with an adjoining door in between them. So some of our first year students live in those rooms. Those are kind of the best of both worlds, because when you feel like having a roommate, you can leave the door open and hang out with them. And then when you feel like having your own private space, you can close the door and be in your own room. So we do have that as an option as well. We do have suite style dorms as well, but those are typically housing our juniors and seniors. We have senior condos, like apartment styles, housing on our campus as well. What intramural sports does Trinity offer to students? So for the most part, pretty much anything that we offer at the varsity level, we also have an intramural or club option. So if you go to the Trinity website and look at our athletics and see what are all the teams there, you can get a pretty good sense of what types of sports we already support at the varsity level. And like I said, most of those you can play at a recreational level if you so choose. So we certainly have lots of students who come to Trinity wanting to play their sport varsity, but we also get lots of students who were really good athletes in high school and they want to continue that sport, but they just don't want to commit to the varsity schedule. And so they will choose to continue to do that as a recreational activity. So I've gotten to the end of my questions and I think we are just about out of time, but thank you all so much for joining me today for this presentation. Thank you for your questions. If you do have any other questions, please feel free to take down the information on this slide, and you can contact me directly at emily.petersell@trincoll.edu. So my name, my picture, my email are on our website, so I'm always happy to take your questions at a later date. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Emily, for spending your afternoon with us and sharing this valuable knowledge to the group. So as you exit the Zoom webinar, you will be taken to a quick survey. 4 questions. We'd love to hear your feedback regarding this particular session. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we do have more sessions with Cachet through tomorrow evening, and all of our recordings will be posted on our website shortly. So I hope you have a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and have a great day. Thank you again so much, Emily.
Thank you.